Okay, I got two long towels on my table, and I took this one out. It was the second scarf made, and it really came out pretty. It's very feminine and delicate, and all the things that I dream about being myself, but I'm not. But I like myself nonetheless. I like who I am, but sometimes I wish I was delicate and dainty and feminine. So putting my psyche aside for the moment, I don't know how well you can see. I'm going to bring this up to the camera, but I'm just taking the edges apart very delicately because I don't want it to be straight. Well, it's not going to be straight because of the nature of this design, but where it was pulled in by the wool, I left it pulled in because it gives it kind of a ruffling, a ruching ruffling, and that's really pretty. I think she made this for her daughter. She's got a beautiful daughter, just like she is a beautiful woman. She's from Turkey. Anyway, this one will not shrink as much in length because you've got all that space in between these pieces. Oh, the ruching here came out beautiful. You have all these pieces of wool and all of this open space with silk, and the silk is not shrinking. So this is going to shrink less. But it went from the end of the table to the other end of the table, and right now it's about a distance of 21 inches. So it shrank in 21 inches, which is a really good shrink for something like this. And it shrank a lot in the pieces because there's very little, but then it didn't shrink a lot in the silk. So I'm going to show you just a little end of this, how it came out. It's really very delicate and pretty. So I don't know if you can see, but you get all this wrinkling in here at the edge. That's really pretty. And when this dries, this is going to flow very softly and gently. It really is pretty. So that's out on the table, on the towel. And once you all are done with your scarves, please share. If you send them to me, I'll send them out to everybody else. I always learn something new from other people, like, oh, I never thought about putting that color with that color. Oh, I really like that design. I should try that myself. So that's a way of continuing the sharing. Okay, so that's the first scarf. And since you're not rinsing out the cream rinse, your hands are really soft. The whole process, to me, I find very tactile and very enjoyable. The silk is soft, the wool is soft. At the end, your hands are all soft from the cream rinse. Okay, this is the first scarf that we made. And there is a very thick end where we did 2 layers of wool. It has that hole there in the middle. And it shrank more than this scarf, because if I pull it end to end, the scarves, you'll see that this brownish tan one is shorter than the other one. Okay, so how do you finish this off at the end? If you like straight edges, then you're going to pull. My edges are not that straight, but I don't, unless I'm making a dress, straight edges are not that important to me. But you just stretch the scarf so that it's straighter at the edge. It's not straight at all here. That's because there was more wool here than it was here, and so that shrank less. It's very obvious in the thickness, so it was uneven woolness. And that's why getting that skill of putting even wool down is very important, because it affects lots of different things. But there's definitely more wool here, and we're transitioning from heavy wool into lighter wool, and you'll see the lighter wool shrinks less. I mean more. You can kind of see it from this width. It starts to taper down here because we had significantly less wool. And then at the very end, it's very narrow. Can't see it there. At the very end, it's very narrow. But I pulled it. You see how I pulled it here? You can see the little dimples, or like to just pull it to the same width as this. And because I kind of like these little dimples out here, so I don't want this straight. I want this to be a little bit more flowy. So whatever you shape your scarf to, when it dries, it will keep that shape for the most part. So this area of the scarf I'm liking a little bit more roughly on the edges. So that's why I'm pulling these out a little bit. But if I were to yank it out to what it wants to be, it would be more narrow yet than this. So I'm forcing it out of shape. Okay, once I get to this point, so you just shape these scarves to what you want them to be. And the next step is to towel dry them. You do not want to do this with garments because this is mimicking rolling, but you roll up the towel and it'll distort your garments. I use a spinner for my garments, but a scarf is less critical. So I'm rolling this up, and it's going to shrink it a little bit, so that's another reason I don't, because this is, you know, part of the rolling process. But with a scarf it's less important. But this is how it's not going to be completely dry, and I don't want to completely dry it because then you're taking the cream rinse out, right? And you want to keep the cream rinse in, so you want some of the moisture to stay in there. Otherwise, you'll get static. So you roll this up, okay, to the end, and then unroll it. Unroll it, unroll it, unroll it, unroll it, unroll it. Okay, so here it is, unrolled, and this is the last chance that you have, not the last chance, but this is your last chance to shape it again. So here, it's really wide here, it's very narrow here. That's uneven wool placement and a combination of this stuff. So this stuff here, these embellishments, is resisting the shrinkage of the wool. And possibly uneven wool on there. And we're going to talk more about that under embellishments. Embellishments will affect your shrink rate if they're resisting the wool from shrinking. So I'm just stretching this out so it's a little bit more straight and flat. Some people like a very smooth surface. If you like a smooth surface, you can steam press it and make it nice and smooth. It looks more like a machine-made product, so some people think it's finer. I like the little rippling at the top myself, but that's just my preference. I'm just stretching it out into its last shape. I don't want to stretch this thin. I want to keep all these little ruffly things on the edges, and just let it dry, either on a hanger or just on the table. And this I don't have to do much to because it's not so purposeful, you know, you just get what you get. I'm going more towards making scarves like these, as I say. I tend to put a little bit more on them than Abru has, but that's neither here nor there, because people then notice that it's unusual. That's not a machine-made fabric. Well, no, it isn't. And they're a lot more fun to make because you're not spending a lot of time of making a base, a background for your embellishments, and that takes a lot of time, as you know, is to lay down all those 2 layers of wool. You can just go directly to embellishing with wool and silk and get something that people seem to prefer. I like a mixture of things. I've got my wardrobe full of clothes and scarves, as you can well imagine. But I like a combination of this and this. I like There's another type of scarf that I do that you actually don't use any silk fabric. You only use silk threads to replace that integrity that you need. I call them my pocket scarves, because they are very light and airy, and I like those a lot too. So it depends on what I'm wearing, what the temperature is going to be. So that's the end. I hope you enjoyed the process, and I hope you join some of us at the next thing. And yeah, please take pictures of your scarves and send them to me, and then I can, if you don't mind me distributing it to the group, that would be great. And if there's any questions, just shoot me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.